So today, guys, we are going to start transitioning away from this sort of pendulum tie-up that we've been working for the last 3 weeks. But before we leave the comfort of this tie-up, it's been nice, been working it, it's going well. I want to take with us a couple of things, principally speaking, that we like that are really going to be quite important to everything else that we use for this semester, right? So keeping in mind that the pendulum sweep to the armbar, to the OMA, everything we've worked this month so far, doesn't work exclusively just because that tie-up is so good and these transitions are so, these specific mechanics are so good, but rather the principles that govern them are really powerful. And if we can take those principles along for the ride with us as we start getting into other transitions, it's going to be very effective for us to getting sweeps and things. So a couple of things I want to make note of, okay? Number one, we talked about how if I am, let me get you my guard here, and you guys probably want to be on this side. If I'm in my guard and I have and I don't have anything tying up his upper body right now, I'm controlling with the legs, my upper body is looking for some sort of attachment, right? Once I get that attachment, so we'll just get to the point where I haven't broken down and I have this entanglement of some kind. Now what's happening is my legs are completely switching gears and going into attack mode, which means that my upper body is what's attaching, my lower body is what's attacking. Furthermore, when we think about these upper body entanglements, I want to think about, and this is going to be very important for today's lesson, I want to think about an entanglement that puts me so fixed to them that, number one, they can't really put something in between us to create separation. In the sense that quite often you might find, let's say I grab a double collar like this, he just puts his hands on my belly, and now he's pushing, and now I have to fight the resistance of his arms expanding. Does that make sense, guys? So what I want is some sort of entanglement that he can't really get anything in between, and furthermore, that attaches my weight to him, which means that in order for him to start posturing back up, he has to carry my weight. So when I get this upper body, this arm trap, elbow to elbow, and I'm here by elbow to elbow and crunching up, go ahead and posture up, please. He has to pick me up with him to get away. It's not to say that he won't sometimes just pull free if I'm a little lax and he just slips his elbow free or something. Sometimes you lose things, it happens. But the ideal situation is that I'm fixed to this thing in such a way where he has to keep picking me up. My weight is anchored to him. And lastly, I want to make the point is that we want to think about momentum as a broad principle to apply in almost every circumstance with this guard. And even to the degree where the very first posture break is really vital to creating this. If I'm here and I break him down and then I freeze, well now I have to do all this work to get to this angle, and this is where we might lose it. Now we have transitions and so on, but the point being is that the odds of them escaping just increase just based on the fact that we were like, this is the situation. He goes, okay, well what can I do to that situation? However, get you back. If instead it's as I'm breaking his posture, I'm immediately attacking his base, then right away he has to respect that. What that's going to trigger quite often are real instinctive responses. Not careful, in the sense of what Tom was doing there once I started getting under his base, right? What did he start doing? Setting on his hips, lifting up his posture, working to pull his arms out of danger. That's a calculated response. I want to trigger a stupid response. I want to trigger oh no! Right? Oh no, don't sweep. I want to trigger unsophisticated, involuntary, instinctive responses. Does that make sense, guys? So we're going to take all of these ideas and we're going to start transitioning out of this close range tie-up to kind of a mid-range tie-up, which is going to be our collar and sleeve. It makes intuitive sense. If I'm in the guard, let's actually go this way. Let's say I had broken down, but I whiffed and he starts getting away. I start losing that arm. Well, that's the next logical thing that's close to me, right? Is if his upper body's close to me, this collar grip is really strong. Now, this collar grip is a really good anchor. But there's some nuances we want to think about to really tying ourselves to this, okay? The number one reason people's collar grips, and especially collar and sleeve in general, fail has to do with where their elbows are and where their upper body is in relation to those elbows. So meaning, if I'm here and I get him here and I'm just kind of relaxed, shoulders on the floor, elbows wide, start pulling away, break those grips, 100% fight against me. I have to, all this pressure's on my fingers. It's very hard once we're here, and just steady sort of pressure, don't like actively break the grip, but just pull away from me. I have to use all this muscle to keep pulling him in and fighting this current of his body pulling away from me. Does that make sense, guys? At this point too, do I feel heavy? I'm sliding out, right? So do you feel like you are actively carrying my weight, or do you feel like you're fighting my grip? Right. So all I'm going to do here is, so we get you back a few paces. As he starts posturing up, right? You start posturing up because that is what they will do. I'm going to glue my elbows to my sides and then anchor back. Lift up, please. Posture. Fight that grip, please. Do you feel like you're carrying my weight?
Yes.
Right? So now, in order for him to even posture, he has to carry my whole upper body weight. Right? He starts pulling away. He wants posture. He wants separation. You see how my shoulders are coming up off the floor? Just by gluing my elbow to my sides. That's all I'm doing that's different. Is I just kind of keep my ribs and my elbows connected. Once I let them disconnect, he starts posturing up, and now it's all against my fingers. And that shit hurts. Look at these fingers, man. Look at these little guys. I don't want to deal with that. This is also going to be very important because, as we noted, I want my hips to be free to move, right? So if all of my weight's on my body laying down, well then for me to make this transition, can you just be Dracula? Thank you. In order for me to move my lower body when my weight's back here like this, there's weight down here, right? But I get the goggles, yeah, I get you again. But by having, so you're pulling away from me, you're trying to break by having these anchors, right? I have the ability to anchor off of this person that gives my hips freedom to mobilize. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay? So this is what's going to get us to the actual scissor sweep transition. The first thing is just literally cross collar, sleeve, clamp your elbows, lift up a little and clamp your elbows to your ribs like those storage containers. So it's just this. The huge difference. Out here, it's all weird muscles that that aren't very strong. Here, it's all my body. This is sturdy. Now, this gets us to the actual scissor sweep itself, right? Does anybody have questions about that so far? No? No? Excellent. Now, 90%, arbitrary percentage, 90% of the time, the reason why people scissor sweep fails is for two reasons. So I guess that's kind of a weird percentage to say. We'll just say the majority of the time people scissor sweep fail, it's for two reasons. One is they don't get off the center line, and two is they don't attack suddenly. Okay? So let me show you what everyone's bad scissor sweep that always fails looks like, because this is when people, and I find it's a lot like intermediate grapplers, like white belts use scissor sweeps a lot, and they hit them a lot, because beginners just don't even think to stop a scissor sweep, and then you hit blue, purple, brown, and they're I hear so many purple belts, you're like, scissor sweeps don't work, dude, they just don't work, and then if you watch black belt tournaments, you watch the best fighters in the world, best jiu-jitsu grapplers in the world, what are they hitting all the time? Fucking scissor sweeps, basic day one scissor sweeps, but this is what it looks like when it sucks. Hold on, I'm using technique. Let me pull you onto me. I'm gonna lift you onto my leg. The gentle art. Right? That shit doesn't work. And I'll tell you why this doesn't work, guys. Do me a favor. Just stay right here. If I try to take Tom over, and I'm directly in front of him, I have no leverage. You guys see this? Can everyone see what I'm doing here? Does it look like I have the kind of leverage that would actually take him over? Even if I let me get you off your base a little bit, nothing, right? I got a whole lot of nothing. Right? Ooh. So the second I get off that line, now I actually have some leverage. Now I'm sort of cutting a corner on it. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. So our objective, just pure leverage, is about getting off of this line. If I stay on the center line, again, using no effort, each the guard. If I stay off of this line, or on this line, if he gives no effort and I give no effort, I have nothing, right? But watch what happens, guys. If I just literally get my butt off of that line. Would you say I used any more physical effort than I did the first time?
No.
Tom? Not really, right? Yeah. Did you use any more physical effort in either scenario, right? Like, it's just leverage, like in terms of leverage, I have more of an advantage at this corner. So the work is, how do I just getting my hips as far off that line as possible. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Mm-hmm. Now, we have one other problem here. Well, actually, before I get to that, let me make one other, here's the other thing. We said I'm anchoring myself to his upper body, right? So I'm here, and he starts pulling away. I'm heavy, right? So watch what happens to his shoulders, like when I plant this foot and move, like especially when I move swiftly. If I go like this, nothing happens, right? But if I'm holding tight, he gets pulled forward, right? Does that make sense, guys? We're going to take advantage of this because what I'm essentially trying to do is get his hips off of his base, and then I want to scissor this thing over. So what's going to happen is I want you to think about throwing your hips. So you're not scooting your hips, you're tossing your hips, and then it's like your legs chop, like your legs boof on the landing, right? So imagine the metaphor I like is the difference between like essentially throwing a ball that's held in your hand and throwing a ball in the air and then cracking it in the air. I'm throwing the ball in the air by throwing my hips off the line, and then I'm hitting it in the air by chopping it with the legs. So without any sort of like, without following through with the sweep, what that kind of looks like, right? So you see how like he already started kind of tipping over a little. Even like, did I use a lot of, right? Just foop boom, foop boom. Then all I have to do to really secure this, and this is again one of those details that I think doesn't get emphasized enough, is I'm taking, like, can I grab one time? Just up the body. Is once I'm off this line, guys, watch. If I don't pull his shoulders forward, even let's get you forward a little bit. I have some pretty good leverage from here. But the more I take you forward, the more he's going to fall. So what I have at my disposal, anchors and then shoulders arching. So visible opponent, what that kind of looks like is like I'm here, boom, plant, and then it's like I use like a throw. Does that make sense? And then it's like my back opens. So putting that all together, and here, let's say I had you broken down, you start pulling away, so I go here, I lift with you, and the elbow's tight. So now for him to posture up, which he will try to posture up, he has to carry me, right? And move your left hand, I just don't want to like put my butt on it. So I'm here, and it's boom. It's all one big movement. From here, keep the collar, pick it up, take this back knee to this elbow. If I try to drive forward, drive into me. Go ahead, 100% win this fight. Ugh. You can win that fight. Go back. 100% drive into me. He will not win this fight. So I hop my knee to my elbow as opposed to drive over top. So putting that all together. Alex, where are you, bud? So putting it step by step. And a good way to practice this, guys, is find your space and literally put your butt right on one of these lines. Your hips should go off of the seat. So if we're here, you do like lard, he's sitting on his heels. So let's say I've broken down, he starts pulling away, so I'm collaring, so you're posturing up, and I anchor. If I'm here, pull away please. Do I feel that heavy? Not really, right? Pull away. Do I feel heavy? Right. So he's pulling away, he doesn't want to be pulled down, so you're actively pulling away, right? From here, I'll do it slow this first time. Step wide, and it's like, boom. Like, just practice that. If you watch my ankle catch his ribs. Like, it kind of hits almost, right? Because it's not like a push or a pull, it's like a throw. Okay? From here, so you're pulling away. Boom. Throw the hips, and then get in the position. Right, you see how his weight drifted to the right just by the, just that. And then add in the chop and the elongation. So we're here, you're pulling away. Boom. Boom. From here, he's going to try to get on top. Knee to elbow. Lift up. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. Everyone open?
Yeah.
A lot of little nuances, but I mean, who here has not been to a class that showed a scissor sweep? Nobody? Thank you. So the point is like, we all kind of understand the basic idea. Let's dig into the weeds a little and get into these, get into the subtle details that really make this thing a consistently successful sweep. Y'all ready to give it a shot? Excellent. Part of working out. 1, 2, 3.